we've done here at Mid Yorkshire on building a collaborative news board. I hope you enjoy the session. So just to give you a little bit of background, as many finance teams and other teams within the NHS, I'm sure, are all going through the same things. We wanted to improve staff engagement within the department. We're also wanting to retain and recruit staff. And as part of this, we're also wanting to apply for the FFF accreditation. So this is where we started on the journey. We're now at accreditation level 2. And as part of that sort of accreditation, we developed and set up a number of working groups within the finance department. These included training development, health and wellbeing, a great place to work, diversity and inclusion, and the communications group. And it was from the communication group that we actually developed a strapline for finance. Finance is more than numbers. And actually we decided that we needed to do something to improve communication. So what was the problem? As probably many people know, communication is always raised on staff surveys. It's always something that we get feedback from staff. They don't generally tell you much more than there's just an issue with communication. So we knew we wanted to do something to try and improve on that. We also wanted to find a way where we could communicate to the wider finance team. We've got many smaller departments within the team covering payroll, financial management, financial services, costing, service improvement. So we just wanted to make sure that we had a way of communicating to all those different audiences once, really, rather than having to do it lots of different times. And we wanted to create something that was collaborative and dynamic, where teams could interact with each other and also sort of interact with the news that they were being informed about. There was also a requirement, as probably most of you are aware, that we just get absolutely swamped with emails. And often when you share information on an email to many, 70 plus, when people would do that reply to all, and before you know it, you've got 10, 15 responses. It can become a bit of a burden really on your emails, and you don't really know what's important and what's not. So we wanted to try and find a way to eliminate the number of emails that we share within the team. Obviously, there were some challenges that we had to try and overcome. We wanted to reduce the emails, but we also wanted to keep the teams up to date of relevant news. We wanted to make sure that they got told the same information at the same time and that the message didn't get diluted as it went through the different teams. We also wanted to put this information in one place where people could look at it in their own time, but also discuss and comment on it. Obviously, people are starting to do this more on Teams, but we wanted a platform that was a bit more nice to look at and a bit more interesting to pull people in. And we also wanted to make sure that when we emailed, it was for direct information that we wanted people to be aware of sort of there and then, not something that they maybe needed to come back to at a later time that fit them. So we tried to find a way that we could deliver this. And as we said, we wanted it to be an interactive news board where people could access it in their own time at their own pace, but the news was still there and available for them to see. So what did we do? And in the communication group, we've got a number of staff from different departments within finance, covering all different roles within the hierarchy. So we had a conversation in that group about what we could do. We discussed lots of ideas, some of them which we'd tried before and worked for a while, but obviously everything becomes stale after a while. So we talked about a newsletter which we'd already developed and done pre-COVID. And we used to do this on a quarterly basis, but actually it became really hard to find news for each of the areas. There was only 2 of us that used to deliver the newsletter, and it was really hard to get information to put in it. And also by the time we were sharing the information, it was often out of date, with it only being a return we did quarterly. We also had notice boards that were up in the building, but as again with COVID, these became very out of date. And again, you were sharing information that often had already passed, and it was really hard to keep something up to date. And we also realised we were obviously printing a lot of material off that we tried to find something that was a bit more intuitive and interactive. And that's where Trello came in. Simon, who's going to give a demo later, I'd actually seen it used elsewhere, but not as a news board. It was more as a project management tool where different teams were using it to create action logs and task lists to manage projects with. But it looked something that you could develop and use for what we wanted. So what we did was we created a demo system. We mocked up a really basic system and just sent it around the communication group and asked them to test it. Add cards, archive cards, comment on cards, just to see how it worked and how easy it was to do. And we found that actually it was a really easy system to quickly develop. It was something that didn't take weeks and months to do. And actually it was a really easy thing that we could roll out quite quickly. So once we'd played with the demo system and was happy that we had something, we created a live system. And we tried to put as much information on as we could to get it up to date and to get it so people would want to look at it. And we launched it in one of our core team briefs where every member of the finance team is invited. And we launched the Trello board. We invited everybody from finance to use the board. And we then set up a very small demonstration session after, which Simon will show you, is really easy, just to show people how to use it and how easy it was to start actually taking it forward. So these are just some visuals of our Trello board. Simon will actually show you a demo of the live board, but we've currently got 2 boards that we use finance-wide, and then other teams have boards that they use within their own departments. We've got My Finance News, which is the main board where we share all our news. And we call out staff where we want to sort of give them a shout out if they've done something that we want to, you know, award them on. We share staffing news on there. News updates of all the working groups are also shared on here. And currently we've got 74 members, which pretty much probably covers most of finance and payroll. I don't think there's many staff missing. And then we've got a useful board where we're actually sharing information that you might want to go back to maybe once a quarter or at year end, account codes, information on how to carry out your appraisal and update ESR, sickness reporting, those kind of things that you might need to use once in a while, and it's just useful to have them somewhere other than on your network, especially now we're working more agile. Sometimes it's useful to just be able to get to this information at the touch of a button. So how does it work? So basically, you can create as many columns with any type of newsfeed you want, and it's up to you what you create and how it looks. We've basically created columns for each of our working groups so the leads can put updates on as to where we're up to. And then we've just created some more news feeds of what we really did with the notice boards in the office. We tried to replicate what we'd had before. Anyone can add a post that's being issued the board. So all staff can post a card and all staff can then add comments to the card and create a chat from that post. So you can make it as interactive as you want, really. You can archive all the old posts if you don't think they're applicable any longer, they're out of date, or actually you just want to free up some more space so that the people don't have to go through lots of cards to find. What we always normally do is put the most recent card at the top. So when people go in, they can automatically see what's new. It's as simple as just sharing the link with new starters via an email, and then they just set themselves up and they're in, and then they can start to use it immediately. So it's not that cumbersome to sort of add new people. And staff can keep up to date in their own time. As we said, we now as a department work agilely. We work across different sites, different buildings, and also from home. So people can access this from wherever they are in their own time, and they don't have to, you know, be in the office to be able to keep up to date with the news. And it's just like social media, really. It literally takes seconds to add a post. It's not cumbersome, it's not hard. And I think the more you do it, the easier you think it is. In fact, I think the hardest thing is trying to choose which photo you want to attach to it to make it more appealing. And then what you can also do is add a watch to a card. So if you've posted a card where you want to see if anybody's added any comments, it will alert you. It's really useful if you've put something in there that's asking a question or asking for some feedback. You can quickly see what people have added to that, and that's really useful to see. So I'm going to hand you over to Simon now, who will give you a little demo of the board, and then we'll have some further slides after that.
Right, just going to share my screen and just go through the board. Right, so just going to look to see if there's any reaction. So can everyone see the Trello board now? Okay. Right, so just to give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour, really, of what we use the Trello board for. So, like Sam says, we currently have 2 Trello boards that we use for the whole of finance. There's My Finance News here, and there's a useful stuff board where we effectively try and put stuff like, you know, at year end, things like timetables and stuff that people might find useful. So just concentrating very quickly then on what you can do really. So one of the things you can do is you can obviously have the columns that Sam's been talking about. You can click on any of these cards and you can embed quite a lot of media into these as well. So we obviously had a Halloween bash in the office, as you can tell, and had a few events, so we took some pictures. This is the sort of thing that anybody can add to, collaborate on, and do things with. The other thing just to mention is it's quite good at showing things like pictures and PDFs. So if you upload a picture, you just click on it, you can see exactly what's going on. So what we do is we try and you know, we have an applause board where we congratulate people for anything well that they've done, any awards. We have a tweet mail, which is just something that we normally send around finance. This is about coming in on a weekly basis almost and just having a look at what's going on in finance, rather than these being distributed all the way around different people. So just going through it is what it is really. It's just got lots of different columns with lots of different types of news. Like I say, it's very, very interactive. This is a nice one. We had a therapy dog come around in finance, so we all took pictures with the therapy dog, and everybody could talk about it. You know, you put a little bit of description about what was going on. So it does work in that way. One of the things I was going to do though is just show you how easy it is to actually use. So what I was going to do in useful stuff is I was just going to add a little card, because obviously I think everybody's aware that the ICSs are taking over from the CCGs, and there's been a little PDF that's been going around saying which ICS has taken over which CCG. So I'll just put that on the guidance notes and just show you how quick and easy it is to do. So to create a new thing, just go to add card. There you go, and I'll just put new ICSs. Right, so you've got to put a description on what you want. Once you click off it, it should then create a card, which is there. If we click on that, I've now got a document I want to attach to that. So go to attachments, go to computer. Hopefully, that's doing something. Right. As with everything, it tends to work slightly slower when you're sharing your screen, but there you go, there's a little PDF. So it's now processing that. That's gone. So I could then write some comments. I could say, please see attach the new ICS bodies and constituent. That spell in the meetings. That's not just right. Constituent. CCGs, for example. Okay, so at this point, what we would do is, if you click on the PDF, like I say, it'll load up. Anybody can look through it. It's really quick and easy to do. That can take 2 seconds really to do it. And then what we try and do, which is what Sam was talking about, is the cover. We try and make it a little bit more obvious. So we always pick the pick a picture really. So you can search for photos, you can upload photos. I don't know, I'll just search for all. Not a very good one, is it? I'll just put business. Oh, I don't know. I'm just trying to find a picture of a business. Let's just find something. There we go. So I don't know if any of this represents. We'll have some buildings. It's absolutely nothing to do with it, but it makes it look nice. There you go. And just check that. Yep, and that's it really. And you've now got your new card. Like Sam says, we always put the card at the top because then people know at a glance what's new, what's changed. It's quite visual. When you do use this on a regular basis, you kind of realise humans are very visual people, and you kind of notice when something's changed and when something's new. Like Sam says, just create another list is as easy as typing in there if you want to do it. We try and not do that so it's going off into infinity, but yeah, it's just not a huge amount to say setting these cards up because they are quite easy. This is a proper project management tool, so you don't have to limit yourself in the way that we do. I mean, if people want to add comments and say that's really interesting, can you give me some more info or start a conversation about a card, you can just type it in there. You can do your watches, which we've just discussed. So I think if you put a watch on there, every time somebody adds to the card, you'll get an email to say somebody's doing something about it, really. So yeah, it's kind of is what it is, really. That's it. And just one thing that people probably ask is how easy is it to share these boards? Well, if I just go back to the main site, if I go to share, you can choose to put someone's email address, do it in a very granular way, or you can literally copy a link, or plop it into your clipboard, and you can just paste it into a chat or an email. Somebody clicks on it, and it does time out, but within a reason, a couple of hours, they can then click on it. And it just gives them access, so it's really easy to manage. We don't use this to store confidential information. This is the sort of information we'd expect people to see if they walked into an office and saw it on a news board. Is that level of security that we sort of apply. If we were putting more confidential information, we would obviously have to run it through governance or go through a more robust way of sharing that access. But you can quite easily monitor who's got access to a board and remove them. You have all that functionality within this area over here. I've done the demo. There isn't a huge amount, I think. Is there some else that I've missed, or is there anything?
There's a few questions, and it might be better to do questions on
At
the
the end.
Trello board now, because you
okay.
might be while you're in it, Simon. So I don't know if
Yep.
you want to pick up some of the questions, and then we'll go back to the slide pack.
As
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
sharing.
I can read out some of the questions
Oh,
for
thank
you.
you.
if you like.
Thank you.
So the first one is, how do you get Trello?
Trello is as simple as, so you can buy a premium version, and this is a free version. So don't sign up for a premium version unless you're wanting to have like loads of Trello boards and do project management. We just literally use the free version. So if you go to Trello in Google, sorry. I think the problem is because this browser's already remembered I'm on Trello. If I go to a different web browser like Chrome, it might be easier to find it. So just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to do. You can literally just Google it, get a link, click on it. Just bear with me while it loads up. Right, so if I go to Trello, hopefully that will do something. Here we go. So there you go. Email, sign up, it's free. It'll send you a link. You'll become the administrator for up to 10 boards. You can just set it up like we did. Just honestly, the simplest way of doing it is, like I say, sign up, get the link, and all you have to do then is create a test page, which we've done here. I'll just show you what our test page looked like. We don't share it for lots of people. It was just literally a bit of silliness on here more than anything else. But we've gone through, we've added cards, we've seen how easy it is to use, and I think within about 10-20 minutes we're thinking, well, this isn't actually that difficult. We could just set one up and get everyone in finance using it. It's a bit like getting a notice board and hanging it up in the office. What do you do? It's that level of difficulty.
Cool. Okay. Next question. Can this sort of thing not be done in Teams?
I don't know. If somebody can show me, I'm very interested. I just think this is simple. I think we were told at one point that just hang fire with Trello because they think Office 365 might have something, but we've not found anything that has this functionality. But it doesn't mean that there isn't. We just used this because it was very easy to prototype and deploy. We could get it out literally within an hour, and everyone could start using it. It wasn't particularly onerous in that respect. It's possible. I don't know the answer. Is my answer to that question? Maybe.
Okay, next question. How do you add a photo next to the comment?
Next to the comment, as in on the face or inside the thing. So on the Christmas extravaganza, we've got a picture of Santa Claus, but then you can add pictures from just uploading them, and then once you've uploaded all the pictures into your card, you can make it your cover, I believe. So on here they've got a little make cover button, so if I wanted to get Scooby-Doo rather than the Grim Reaper, there we go. Done. I don't know if that answers your question. Quite easy to do that.
Next question. Presumably you can upload Excel files or Word documents as well as PDFs.
Yeah, word of warning, and we'll do a word of warning. So they do try and bed in their own Microsoft viewer. So if it's a PNG or a JPEG or an image, it'll just appear in the preview window. If it's a PDF, absolutely fine. What you'll find is if you try and use Office files, they are trying to sell a product here. So what we do is we just recommend that people download the file and then open it up. Because if you do open up a Word document, it'll say, oh, why do you not try and use this viewer? And then it'll ask you to pay a premium subscription, which has caught a few people out over the last couple of months. So what we recommend on Office products is you just go to the download button, standard functionality. It'll just start download off, and then you can open it up once it's finished downloading, like that. Like I say, we're using this for free. We're not expecting everything to be perfect, but you can obviously put any attachment you want within reason. I think there is probably a size limit. I'm not sure what it is because it's quite generous.
We've only come across that one, Simon, I think, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've been using this for maybe 8 or 9 months now. There's only been one file that was too big, so we just chunked it down. But ordinarily, your everyday stuff will automatically upload. We've not had an issue with it.
Okay, next question. Can any member add a comment or post, or can you designate certain people as admin?
Both. We've specifically chosen to make it a collaborative workspace. We actively encourage every person who has access to the Trello board to do that because it's supposed to be a notice board. If somebody wants to talk about a card, we want them to make comments. I think you can. We didn't get approval from IT. I just saw that one. Yes, good question. I think because we've just told people just make it public domain information. I think the most confidential we have is a list of GL codes for the balance sheet that would be of zero interest to anyone. It is literally, newsletters and well done for doing a good job. And another thing that's just reminded me that you can also do another thing. Just let you show you this. It's not going to change the world or anything, but if you click on this one here, it's just an example of an embedded YouTube video. So you can actually play YouTube videos if you've got a link. So if you go to any YouTube video, you can just literally copy the embedded link into here and it'll play.
Okay, next question. Can you add the Trello page into Teams?
There is actually a little Trello app in Teams where you can do that. Yes, we don't. I have played around with it, but it's so easy to get onto Trello. You literally just type Trello and it appears. So I've never felt the need, but you can. Yes, definitely. In fact, if you go and search the apps on Teams, I think Trello is available.
Okay. How hard a sell was it to your DOF to convince them to spend money on your finance team?
Didn't cost anything.
We haven't spent money, but to be fair, we've just changed Director of Finance to a different one, but both our Directors of Finance have been really invested in staff engagement and improving the finance place to work. So had it maybe cost money, as long as it wasn't like overly expensive, I think they probably would have wanted to do it. We're really invested now in improving the finance team and want to retain and recruit people. So it's free though, it doesn't cost you a thing. So
okay, next question. How do people know something has been added, or does it reply on people looking at it regularly?
Unless you've got a watch, you wouldn't know. But what we haven't quite done yet, but we're hoping to do is we talk about Trello in every platform we're in. So we sort of plug it through Team Brief. We sometimes put and I know we said we wanted to reduce emails, but sometimes we'll send out an email just say there's been an update to Trello, log on, because what we're trying to do is encourage people to go in and see other things. So it doesn't tell people, but we do remind people at every opportunity, and I just have it in the background now every day. And so if something comes through, it's really quick then to just go on, add a card while you're on it, rather than have to think about going on it. I just have it in the background open all the time. So it's been a slow burn, and more people are adding to it now, and it's not just the same old couple of people. So I think it's what works for you. It's becoming just the norm now in our department, I think, for people to just use Trello, and we're just trying to eliminate the use of emails where we can.
And I think the other point as well I'd like to make is we deliberately designed this to sort of be a reflective place where people say, I want to see what's been going on in finance because I've got a spare 5 minutes, if you ever do, and you can then have a look at all the stuff that's going on rather than being bombarded by emails. So there is that fine balance, isn't there? So you could be notified every time something happens, but that's kind of the point of this, was to get rid of that. So it is about a little bit of protected time, or just, you know, what's going on. It's supposed to basically be a bit like walking to the kitchen to make a cup of coffee, and you walk past a notice board and you might have a look around to see what's going on in the department.
Okay. Is it secure, and did you need approval from IT?
Like I say, we're sharing this in a public domain here anyway. We haven't gone down that route because it's just supposed to be stuff that you would see if you were walking around an office on a notice board. It's not supposed to be confidential, so we haven't. But obviously I would if it was going to be any more than that.
And we can limit who we share the board with, so
Yeah.
we're in control of who has access, and there is a way of easily removing people when they leave the organisation. So it's just a case of making sure you keep up with the admin really as to who's got access.
Okay, next question. Can you share this with other organisations in your system?
Yeah, you just send them a link.
Can you add links, for example, to a file in your finance drive?
If you've got access to the finance drive, I think that would probably work. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've tried that, have we, Sam? Have you tried?
I think we put the link in, but I think it then just sort of create a file. So we just generally upload them because I think that's how it works. So obviously we go to the our finance drive to upload the file. I think when you try a link, Simon, I think it might just automatically upload the file, but
But if
there may be a way.
the link, they could copy and paste it into Windows Explorer, and then it would appear, obviously. Yeah.
Okay, last question, I think. Is there an analysis tool to report to show how many people have used access the board?
Yeah, at the top there, you can see 70 people plus the people showing. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 75 people. I don't know. I think if you pay the premium subscription, I'm not suggesting anyone does. There probably is access to more stats. I don't know, to be honest. I'd probably click on members and look. Yeah, it tells you. It just tells you which board's done. Really, it doesn't give you any more. I don't know. Not looked, I think, is the answer to that question. Not saying it isn't or it is.
Shall I carry on with the slide back?
Do you want to stop sharing, Sam?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
So obviously we've now had Trello. I think we've been operating it for maybe 7 to 8 months. So what have we learned in that time? Well, we've learned it takes time to create momentum and bring people on board. It wasn't an overnight success. It took a while to get people wanting to post on it, and that's why we brought the working groups in, because that was another avenue where we knew we'd get buy-in from those groups, because we're all here to make the place the best place to work. So we tried to encourage those groups to give their updates on there, and we also learned that it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's a complementary sort of another complementary method of communication. We don't want it to replace all of the methods of communication. We just want to add and have another method of communicating. It's very visual, and some people like to see the visual bit and like to be drawn in by the pictures that you put on. And so you just got to be patient, really. But what we've found is now that we work more agile, it's just brilliant for keeping people up to date on things without the need for them to come in the office and without the need to be getting hundreds of emails. So we've found it a really good tool for that basis. And it's live every day, so it's not something that you have to wait for it to be updated. It's just like Simon posted that card, that's there for everyone to see straight away and immediate. So that's really good. And as we've said, you can adapt it and use it for other work. So I know Simon has a board that they use sort of to help run their little huddle meetings. You know, they'll have the agenda there, they'll have assigning of tasks and actions, and actually you can use it for lots of other ways other than a news board. So it is a really good tool, and I think you could adapt it in lots of ways. And then just to remember that to sell basically. So as I said, every meeting and every staff interaction, we mention the Trello board. We've now built it into our induction programme. So when we get new members of staff, they will be inducted on Trello, and we will ensure that they get shared the link to Trello, and they explain what we use it for and why it's important to sort of add to it. And we are targeting, it's not only, but we are trying to target, so we have a lady in the office who generally sends a lot of emails out, just use information sharing. So we're trying to target people that send a lot of emails and trying to encourage them to use the Trello route. And that's something that we've been encouraging over the last couple of months, and that has started to have some momentum now. So obviously what's good about it is it's free. We haven't found anything apart from one file that we do with it. So for 7 months, it's been working really well. It's really quick and easy to use, and I hope the demonstration that Simon gave showed that it is really simple to do, and you can't really go wrong with it. And if you post something you don't like, you can just archive it, and it's like it's never there. And as we said, you can access it from anywhere. So you can just basically have access to all the news at your fingertips. And with the useful board, if you was out with people, even budget holders and things, and you wanted to get access to something, and it's there straight away, so you could pull up things and information while you're out and about in meetings and things, which is really good. What could we improve on? So encouraging everyone to get involved. There is still small pockets of the team that don't really want to use it or don't use it, but as we said, we're not going to bring everyone on board, but it's just basically encouraging and showcasing why it's got its benefits. And just utilise the chat facility more. We did envisage that people would want to do that. It has been a bit slow, that, and I think it depends on what the card's about. There's generally more chat on the softer cards where it was like the Halloween bash or the Christmas bash that's coming up. People probably were interact with that more than maybe the work type information, but we are trying to encourage people to use the chat facility. And it's as simple as that, really. A very quick and easy showcase, and I hope that we've brought to life basically what we've done. And I don't know if there's any further questions.
Is there a question from Wendy?
Hi, yes, if you wouldn't mind, it's going to be easier to ask than to put it in the chat. You know, when you shared your screen, I was just interested sort of around keeping ledger codes on there and balance sheet codes and finance timetables and things like that I saw on the useful board. Could you just, screen share again and just show us how they appear for people? Is that all right?
I can do that. Just 2 seconds. I mean, to be honest, I don't think we've done a full year end yet. Well, the Trello board's been live, so but I have found it quite useful myself when I've wanted to just look something up, because sometimes going through a G drive and finding a spreadsheet, you just know it's here.
Yeah,
it's actually
absolutely.
easy just to. So, hang on, if everyone can see that, it's taking its time to update. think that's just because I'm sharing my screen. Right, okay, so a good example. So we give people a little cheat list every single year end. Problem is, actually, we'd probably need to publish that as a PDF, because that used to sort of show in the viewer. Now it doesn't, so it's probably not the best example. I will see if there's something on here that's, yeah, I mean, it is a question of just downloading it. I'll just do that. It doesn't take 2 seconds, to be honest. Let's just have a look. So there's the attachment.
There's no reason why you couldn't upload that in a PDF anyway.
No, that's what I will.
So it's sort of instantly seeable for people
Yes.
when they go on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what we'll be doing. Like I said, we only came across this previewer issue about a month or so ago, so we're going to have to just save that. But the point is, the one I've just loaded today could be a good proxy for that. It's not PDF. You just click on it, and then obviously, if that was a list of balance sheet codes, it's not. It's a list of CCGs. But do you see what I mean? We could easily just sort of scan down that, find what we're after, and then say, right, okay, fine.
Yeah, that's super. Thank you. Thanks for that.
We've got a few more questions. Are there other training sessions planned so we can encourage team members to attend and find out more?
We're quite happy. Simon and I have done a couple of training sessions just to individual trusts and with other teams within our trust. So I think Simon and I are quite happy if people want to ask us to do it. I mean, I think you literally need 15 minutes. That's all you'd probably need. Because once you've demoed the board, I think it's quite straightforward. So I think we're quite happy, Simon, out to run some more.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I mean, what I would recommend anybody do is just sign up for it, create a board, create a couple of cards, and see if it's something that, to use your expression, Sam, floats your boat. And if you like it, maybe mock something up and show it to more senior managers in the team and see if it's something you want to go ahead with.
Okay, next question. How do you run the admin side? Is it a couple of allocated users who monitor the notice board and post?
I think we've just given it to interested people. So when I signed up for this set of boards, it was obviously myself, but I can then assign administrator to access to anybody who's a member of that board. So I think at the moment we've got like 9 people who can administrate. But again, because the level of access is quite open, it doesn't really make that much difference. Anybody can add a card, anybody can put a comment on. So it is really easy, yes.
And to be fair, I think there's a few of us that maybe use it more than others. If I see a card that's on there, and we encourage people to try and put it on in the same way. So when we put the cover on, we always use the right hand side because it puts the text within the picture, rather than that one with the happy smiley faces where the text sits underneath. So if I see a card that's been posted and is slightly different, I will just tidy it up. But generally we just let people, we haven't had anything on there that's been offensive or rude or anything we'd want to remove. So people are using it in good spirit, and we're just letting people manage it themselves really. But there's probably about 3 or 4 of us that maybe use it more than others and just maybe keep a tab on it.
Okay. How did you first launch this to your finance teams and get engagement going?
Brief, wasn't it, Sam?
It was through, yeah, so through Core Team Brief, we do an update on all the working groups every month. So we sort of told people what we were demoing and trialing. And then when we were ready, we did launch it through Team Brief. So we showed people what the board looked like. And then Simon ran a couple of sessions after that just to show people how easy it was to post a card. And every month now we just give an update on how many users we've got on Trello, remind people to use Trello. So it was through our Core Team Brief, which is run very much like this. So everybody just comes on a Teams meeting, and we run a series of presentations, and Trello was part of that.
Okay. If I download one, until I choose to share it, would it just stay for me to view, just thinking about downloading and having a play?
Do you mean setting up Trello? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anybody could sign up to have Trello, and multiple people can be board administrators. I think it works. So this is a workspace effectively. So I've signed up for one called My Finance News, which is free. But then if I go to my workspaces, I've also got another. So there's this guest workspace which I was originally invited into, which was the Huddle board. that we were talking about before. So I then set up a new one to create for the AP and AR team, but then obviously I've got my finance news as well there. So I think the thing is anyone can create a workspace, but I would recommend only having one workspace if you can, because it get very complicated if it's like I have these boards, you've got these boards, and whose boards are whose. That makes sense.
But,
I don't know if that
but
answered the question. I don't think I understood the question. Really.
if you set yourself up, Simon, today on a board, you can only view it till you share it, can't you?
Yeah, you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, you literally have to say go
control.
to share, put the link on. So it is completely locked down to your account until you then give people access. And like I say, you don't have to copy a link and put it on Teams. You could email individual people. So it gives you the option of emailing them, sending them a link, and then only they would have access. And then you can control who's got access, make sure it's within your organisation, unless it's collaborative across different organisations. But yeah, it's really easy to see who's got access to the board, and if you want to give somebody that's
Okay, our finance team is smaller than yours, about 30. Do you think this could still work in a smaller team? I really like the concept now. We are hybrid working.
I would say so, yeah. We showcased it to other teams within the trust, and I think they were probably smaller than ourselves. It definitely works if you're working agile, hybrid working, or even cross-site working. And I also think it would work even if you were all still in an office, because it's just somewhere where you can share information without, I guess, getting things on walls that will become quickly out of date. So I would say it's really good for any size team.
Is there any more questions? I think that's all the questions now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you found it useful.
It was really, really useful for me as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a nice
Thank you
day.
both.
Yeah,
See you
have a nice
later.
day,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks.